What's up, guys? Johnny here. Welcome back. Long time no see. Hope you guys missed me, but anyway, I had something going on today. I wanted to bring it to you. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, but I'm out here at our drone field in Detroit. Got a little bit of practice going on. So I have a certain goal for today. I want to share with you guys kind of what my thought process is, what my goal is, and what I try to do on a given practice day. Now, if you look at this track, it might look a little bit familiar to you guys that are going to I.O., that are watching I.O., that are seeing that World Cup racing. What we did at our most recent Detroit drone race is we took some elements from the World Cup track and we brought them out here in Detroit and set them up for our race day last Saturday. So there's two main sections here that we pulled directly out of Velocidrone, directly out of the World Cup, so that people who are going to I.O., unfortunately I'm not one of them, could have a chance to fly some of the elements that they'll be seeing on World Cup and hopefully help them be as prepared as possible when they get down there to I.O. So for me, what does that mean today? So we did our racing and I actually felt really good racing on that day. One particular element that was really tough was the initial dive gate, which is the same as the initial dive gate on the World Cup. It's a tough maneuver and I tried different ways to fly it. I tried doing knife edge, I tried doing a hockey stop, I tried doing a right toilet bowl maneuver. In the end, I really felt like the right toilet bowl was the way to go. But that was really interesting, and overall, I'll say that I flew really well for pretty much the whole day. Very little crashing, really fast times, qualifying the 2 spot, which in Detroit these days is really, really good. It's really tough to be up there in that top 3 spot. But I did not perform when it came to the bracket racing. I crashed out in both my races, and that kept me from placing as well as I want. So overall, very happy with how I did, except for those 2 races. Just need to get my confidence up when I go head-to-head racing. Fly like I know I can, fly like I know I used to, and hopefully get better results next time. But what am I out here doing today? So on that race day, my best time that I saw was a 19.2. I had a 19.4, 19.6, about those 19s. Our top qualifier, Jake Hammer, had some 18s. In fact, I think he had a 17.988 out here on the truck. So I know it's possible to go faster. So what I did is after the race day, I went back and watched all my DVRs. And I said, what was I doing well when I was going fast? What was I not doing well when I wasn't? Find those items, optimize those items, come out here on practice day and try to put out faster lap times. Now, whenever I come out here to practice, my first goal, number 1, is always don't crash, get as many packs in as possible. Number 2, optimize those lines. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get warmed up here, I'm gonna focus on those elements, and I'm gonna try to beat that 19.2 and get some times into the 18s. All right, so what is it gonna take, or what do I think it's gonna take for me to get into the 18s on this particular track? One thing I always noticed when I was getting my best results is it was the way I was taking that second dive. If I was keeping that nice and tight around the outside flag, nice and smooth through the drop and keeping it accelerated out of there, I was getting my best lap times. The other thing is I really had to focus on the corkscrew hairpin maneuver. As long as I can keep that tight, I get my best lap times. Those are really the 2 elements that I'm gonna focus on most. Other key items are make sure I keep the throttle up in the wide open sections. This, just like World Cup, has some wide open sections that I'm not used to doing. Make sure I'm comfortable with a little bit higher throttle, keep my speed going. And yeah, that should be enough. I'm just gonna go out here, get some packs in, get warmed up, analyze where I'm at, and see what I gotta do to get my 18s. Alright guys, so a good thing out here is that within a couple of packs I'm in the 20s, which were really good laps. The last run I just did, I think it was 20.1, a 20.8, and a 21 flat. If I had done that on race day, that would have qualified me like 3rd or 2nd on the race day. So I think, yeah, maybe 3rd. So that's already pretty quick, and I know I can get faster. One key spot I forgot to mention earlier that as soon as I was flying I remembered is, as I come through the dive, I go through that the one gate right there, and as soon as I turn left, if I turn too hard, I have to do a turn back and correct and right, and I'm wasting a lot of time there. So trying to take that gate at more of an angle to keep that line straight, less correction should hopefully help me get some more speed to get down to those 18. So that's what I'm gonna be shooting for there. But overall, still, it's a bit more windy today than it was on a race day, which is making that dive a lot harder. So that dive still continues to be the trouble that I'm having out here. Sometimes it feels good, sometimes it doesn't. When the wind kicks up, it really doesn't feel good. But I'm gonna go out here, just keep flying, try to keep that as smooth as I can as I work on the rest of the course, and see if I can start getting some 19s again. So 20.1 so far is my fastest, but I got 20s on race, or 19s on race day. I'll get down to the 19s now, and then we'll shoot for those 18s. Alright guys, a few more batteries into the 19s, 19.7 on that one, but man, these 19s are tough out here today. I mean, they were tough on race day. Even that top 3 consecutive would have been my fastest 3 consecutive that I had all day on race day. So I'm flying pretty well, but not quite where I need to be. So again, I am noticing that after the dive, keeping it speed through that gate and keeping that turn when I don't have to do too many corrections is helping a lot. Just gotta watch out for the wind and try to keep that corkscrew tight, and let's shoot for those 18s still. we're getting close, guys. 19.3, 19.4, both in the same 3 consecutive. So getting those 19s, getting them pretty consistent. One thing that's actually catching me a little bit off guard, I've noticed, is I didn't call out at the start of the video where I thought I was really need to focus to get that speed. But it turns out over here, this last section before the hurdle is super critical to get my top times. I need to actually shed speed going to that gate, try to keep that turn tighter, and that saves a ton of time if I pull that off. So a little bit unexpected, kind of interesting when you get out here, you can run battery after battery after battery. You really get a much better idea understanding what parts of the track allow you to go faster and what parts you really have to focus on to go faster and faster, etc. So really find that interesting, just keeping focused on what I'm doing, gonna keep practicing, shooting those for the 18s, only got 0.3 more to go. We know we can do it, let's go get it done. Yeah, baby, 18.7, pulled off that 18. It was starting to get a little bit hard, but then just that run, it felt like I put all the little pieces together. It didn't feel like overall it was a much faster run than the other ones, but yet I could tell each and every point was just a little bit better to where it's gonna get in that 18. So now we got an 18.7, let's just see how low we can go. Again, fastest lap we've seen on this was a 17.998 by Jake Hammer. If I spend more time out here, can I get that low? I don't know. I might even try upping my throttle cap from 80% to 90%, who knows? Let's go give it a shot. Woo! All right, so no more 18s, a lot more 19s, 19 flat, 19.2, 19.1, 19.5, 19.6, but not those 18s. So they're really tough to come by. So I decided I'm gonna bump my throttle cap up to 90%. Currently running the Min-Chan 2100 kV motors on 6S, so gonna bump that up to 90%, see what it does. It is tough on this course that 3 laps with a 1400 pretty much kills the battery. So we're gonna see how it does with 90% instead of 80%, but yeah, hopefully we can go a little faster, maybe not. I'm gonna start a little bit slower at 90% and then bump it and go as fast as I can. Not sure if I'll go faster or not, but let's try it out. Wow, so it is amazing the power that exists in those Min-Chan motors, those MCK motors. Just went up to 90%, you can feel that difference, and yeah, I got another 18 right off the bat, first pack, where I was pushing it there. What's crazy too is I think it was a 19 flat, 18.9, 19.5. That would have been enough for a TQ at the race this past weekend. So it's amazing how if you get comfortable on this track and you really push it and you go up a little bit faster on the quad, how it can even get a little bit more. So let's see if I can get a little bit more used to 90%, keep pushing out here and see if I can drop that lower. Oh man, that was fun. Man, it's a lot of fun running at 90% if you can control it on the track. Man, it just feels so fast. Managed to pull an 18.4 there. I think it was like an 18.8, 18.4, 19.2, something like that. I should even go check it out. Times say 19.2, 18.4, 18.8 were my three. They felt really, really good. The battery was really struggling at the end with that 18.8, but it still felt great. So I think we're gonna do from there is we're gonna pack up our stuff, head home, and take a look at these on the computer and try to compare them and see what really makes a fast time. If I look at, you know, lap A and lap B, if both felt pretty fast, one was a little bit faster, where was that difference? Where do we make it? I think I have an idea out here on the track, but let's go see what the computer shows and side-by-side shows. All right, guys, great day of flying today. We're back home. I have all the footage loaded into the computer. I took a handful of different laps that I want to compare and kind of go through and find out what is it about those laps that really differentiates one lap time from another. And we're going to start with sort of my on the slower end lap times and work my way up to my fast of the day. Now, full disclosure, I actually stuck around a little bit longer than I said in the video. I went home a little bit later and actually ended up getting an 18.2 as my fastest lap. Had a bunch of real good runs. I was real happy with the way I was flying. I didn't want to leave that early. So 18.2 is the fastest run we're going to take a look at. 18.4 was the fastest that we saw earlier in the video. Let's go dive in and take a look at these clips and see if we can figure out what's faster, what's slower, and where we can save those times on our laps. All right, so diving right in, first I'm taking a look at what was recorded as a 20.7 versus a 19.5. So if I bring that up here, there we go. So let's go ahead and just take a look at these different laps. I'm going to start playing. We're right at the start gate here, and let's go through and see what happens. All right, so that so far is really interesting. Again, this is a pretty big difference, 20.7, 19.5. And these two are looking exactly the same at 1.3 seconds. Going through the dive, these two are exactly the same. We're going through exactly the same time, and yet we know there's going to be a big difference in the overall net time. All right, well, we can see actually a pretty big gap already appeared. So let's just go back and rewatch whatever just happened. Something happened in that dive on the slower side. So again, we're even going into the dive. Wow, and just a slight correction, if you notice that. Again, on the left is the 20.7. I had a slight correction going through that dive, which made it a little bit less smooth. And then all of a sudden, there's a huge gap opening up on the other lap. Wow. And then, if you notice, too, it kind of builds. So one little correction leads to a second correction, leads to a third correction. And if we just take a look at this gate here, so going through the bottom of the double, about 4 seconds, up to 0.6. So that's a 0.6 difference already in these two laps just by that one little bobble in the dive gate. So man, it's amazing the kind of a difference that makes off the start. All right, so you know what, let's go back and see. So after that, how far are we off to this gate here before going into that triple? So 7.1 seconds. Wow, 8.2. So we're up to a 1.1 second difference just based on that kind of that first bobble, first move. Man, I did not realize. I know when I was flying, I might notice like a little bobble here and there. I never really think too much of it in that dive because it seemed like inconsequential, but as you can see, that adds up to a whole lot. Coming through here, both looked kind of good. Both looked kind of good going through the dive. But you can just see there's a gap that opened up on the one side versus the other, and 19.5 and about 21. So that was a big difference there. To me, what really stood out was that dive and that slight bobble. And that just made a massive difference. I mean, if you're going into a qualifying day, over a second difference per lap, 3 seconds, that's a massive difference between those two. So again, just that one thing. So next up, let's take a look at the 19.5 versus 18.7 and see what happens here. Again, starting from the same spot, those two looking pretty much exactly the same. Oh, but again, so on the left must be the faster lap. I'm opening up some sort of a difference on that dive. Now, the one that we're looking at here, the one on the right, I think that's the same that we just watched. Yeah, the one on the right is the 19.5 that we just watched. And yet somehow this one, it's already a pretty big difference here. Going through that first gate after the dive, 2.9, 3.1. So a 0.2 second difference already just off that dive, just keeping it smooth. And again, let's look at the top of that. So about 5.7, 0.6, and also up to a 0.3 second difference. So coming through here, 6.7, 7.1. Just it seems like just a little bit faster the whole way through, up to a 0.4 difference. A little bit tighter in that those 3 gates, a little bit tighter through that dive. Definitely much tighter, that 18.7. That was actually a really clean run. So if I remember correctly, this 18.7 was the lap I ran on the 80% before going up to 90%. That was a really good run. I mean, this was a really nice turn. So let's kind of see what happens here. So if I go through at about 17 seconds, by the time I wrap around and go up over 17.9, so about 1 second to do that move. And how do I do here? 17.9. 18.7. So this was actually faster. That's kind of surprising. I actually thought this would be better. 17. 17.9. Wow, interesting. So when I was watching this live, it looked like a tighter move on the left, but it was actually a tighter move on the right. So kind of interesting there that, you know, even these some spots, there's certain spots that, you know, might even look a little bit faster, that might be faster in some of your slower times, but overall just moving a little bit smoother, a little bit faster that whole way through that 18.7. Nothing big really stood out to me the whole way. It just seemed like 0.1 second here, 0.1 second there, 0.1 second there, just the whole way through. And that I thought that was actually a really cool run. But wow, yeah, let's see if at this dive, what were we? So what there, about 11.9, 12.5, so we're up to 0.6, and we finished at, I think, a 0.8 difference. So yeah, just pushing it through here a little bit more. Yeah, there's a slight bobble in that turnaround. It's just, man, the little things really do make a big difference. That was really fascinating to me. So now we're going to kick it up a gear. Let's take a look at the 18.7 versus the 18.4. This is the 18.7 we just looked at, and against the 18.4. And let's see if we can find out where the difference is in that 0.3 seconds. Now, the thing that's interesting is the 18.7, I was flying at a 80% throttle cap. The 18.4, I was up to a 90% throttle cap. So it should now be a faster quad. And we're going to see with that faster quad if that really makes a difference, if that's kind of what that additional 0.3 is. But let's go have a look. So that's already interesting. So again, I'm up to a 90% throttle cap, which you can see here, 80% on one side, 90% on the other. And so even though it's the faster quad clearly, man, even the 80% quad is at a later point in the battery, so it's a lower voltage, although it says low voltage, not so much. But it's earlier in the battery on the 90%. Even though you're seeing that 90%, when I go through that dive, those two are side by side. So that additional 10% so far hasn't really made a difference. That's really fascinating to me. Coming through, looks about the same, looks about the same. We are in stereo vision right now. Okay, so now we have a difference. So I think this is where we're seeing that slightly faster quad make up that time. Right, so we're, I mean, a half 0.05 to 0.1 seconds difference now. I think all came down to the additional power in this turnaround. Because again, we came through these gates at the same exact time. This is just full throttle back. It's a little bit ahead on the one side. You know what? That triple actually looked better on the 80%. Let's go back and watch them slow through. So yeah, so somewhere we actually caught up again. These two are side by side stereo vision here. Beautiful. Oh, you know what? Look at that. I think I'm actually ahead on the 80% quad at this point. Going around smooth after the dive. Look at that, side by side. So really, I feel like the 80% quad is probably flying a little bit better right now. But you can see that gap open again. You get into this wide open section, that 90% really comes in handy. 90%, 90%, 90% back. Nice turn, 90%. Yeah, wow. So overall, I feel like that was actually a better flight on 18.7, just with a little bit slower quad, that 80% throttle cap versus 90. But again, you see how close they are. You know, you'd think that that additional 10% would make a big difference on power. I remember flying, I even talked about it like, wow, I can feel that difference. It's so much faster, so much more powerful, having a lot of fun. But then watching those laps, it's a real small thing. And the wide open sections, yeah, it's going faster, but overall, I actually felt like I flew a little bit better on the 80%. So last one here, this is the 18.4 versus the 18.2. 18.2 is the absolute fastest one I did. Both of these are at 90%. So let's go ahead and watch these again. Go through that start. Coming up. All right, so we're a little bit ahead on the left. I think that's actually the slower one. A little bit ahead on the left. A little bit ahead on the left, so that's got to be faster. Yeah, look at that. So 5.5 to 5.69. So yeah, we're about 0.2 ahead already, just in this section here. So let's see if I can figure out what happened. Yeah, you know what's interesting is the one on the left is the 18.2, the fastest one. It is behind. The key thing to note, though, is that the voltage, the time on the battery, this is my second lap that I get the 18.4. It's my first lap that I get the 18.2. So the additional voltage on the battery, I think is going to make it for a little bit faster quad. That must be what's happening. Side by side, yeah, it is in front. So we're playing a little bit of catch up here on my faster lap. Let's see if it's in the triple. Oh, wow. What just happened? Look at that. Wow. So where did it get back? Interesting. Yeah, it actually looked a little bit better, again, on the left. So going through the dive gate, it's a big difference right now. 11.5, it's coming through the dive. 11.9. We're like a 0.4 second difference. Now let's see what happens. Wow. Okay, still ahead. Wow. Okay, let's go back and watch this again. I did not see something correctly. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and start this one over. Now that we know that the 18.4 is the first lap and the 18.2 is the second lap. Wow. Oh no, 18.2 was the first lap. Okay, so let's watch this over again. On the left is the 18.2. When does it get ahead? Coming back. Okay, it's a big difference there. Wow, look at this. Okay, so the left is ahead here. So, yeah, it's ahead. Coming through the dive. Yeah, it's ahead off that dive. This all came down to the dive at the very start. Just a little bit smoother. And it's got that 0.2 seconds already. That was the total difference. We're ahead. We're ahead. It looks like we're flying basically the same, just a little bit ahead the whole way. That 0.2 is all from the dive. Huh. You know, I gotta tell you, this really kind of catches me by surprise. When I was out there flying, there were all these different aspects that I was really trying to focus on. I clearly did focus on those. And they were really important, and I'm sure that I was doing them really well. And maybe that's why they're so similar as I'm going through and watching this footage. But what I did not expect was that it would all come down to the smoothness of the dive. If you notice, it wasn't the entry into the dive. That was always pretty much the same. We were able to get into the dive at roughly the same time across the board. But how smooth we were going through that first dive is really what led to the difference in the overall lap times. And I just wasn't expecting that. I mean, if you notice when I said this is what I'm going to focus on, nowhere did I say how smooth I am entering that dive or going through that dive. But it turns out that's where I really need to focus to get the fastest lap times possible. So I found this really interesting. I know that when I fly similar courses, I'm going to pay extra close attention to that dive and those certain aspects, and keep that in mind when I'm trying to get my fastest lap times possible, that maybe what I think I need to focus on isn't actually what I need to focus on. So I really, I find this helpful. Hopefully you guys find this helpful too, because I certainly learned something today. Hopefully you did too. Hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you can use, what we did here, comparing side by side, to help you guys in your flying and your practice and helping you guys get better. And hopefully I get a chance to get out there and race y'all guys someday soon. But yeah, with that, I'm going to leave you there. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me know what you guys thought down below. And as always, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.